The Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus versus the Google Pixel 2 XL. Which one is a better device and which one should you guys get? Well, the S9 Plus and the S9 are officially going to be unveiled, guess when? Actually today, or at least they were unveiled today depending on when you're watching this video. But in this video I'll be covering everything you need to know in terms of the S9 Plus and the Google Pixel 2 XL when it comes to the design, the display, the camera, storage, special features, software, battery, price, and so much more. So grab some popcorn, sit back, relax, because this is going to be a pretty cool, interesting, long, but exciting video. And let's see which one is a better device overall. Okay, so starting off with the design first, the S9 looks almost identical to the S8 from last year. So we do get some slightly thinner bezels on the front, along with that dual camera module on the S9 Plus. And then finally, the fingerprint reader has been repositioned towards the middle of the phone from the right. But other than that, the S9 looks pretty much identical to the S8. The Pixel 2 XL, however, is a massive change coming from the original Pixel XL. So not only do we get a larger device, a 6-inch display versus 5.5 inches, but the bezels have been thinned out by a lot. And then if you take a look at the back, we still get a similar design on the back with both aluminum and glass. But when you compare the two, the S9 Plus and the Pixel 2 XL, the S9 Plus has significantly thinner bezels on the front when compared to the Pixel 2 XL. Not even to mention those curved edges, which simply make the content that you're watching just flow perfectly from the edge onto the display. So in the end, when it comes to the design, it's a matter of preference, but I would personally go with the S9 for this one. I don't know, the Pixel 2 XL still doesn't look like a 2017 smartphone yet, whereas the S9 definitely looks like a 2018 smartphone just because of how immersive the entire viewing experience is. Speaking of viewing, if you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe and enable notifications by tapping on that bell icon if you want to see more in-depth tech videos, in-depth comparisons, and more Elixir Immerse episodes in the future. Now, moving on to the display, there's quite a few things that I want to talk about here. So when it comes to the display size, the S9 Plus comes with a 6.2 inches display and an 18.5 by 9 aspect ratio, whereas the Pixel 2 XL comes with a 6 inches display, so slightly smaller, but an 18.9 aspect ratio. So essentially, the S9 Plus has a taller display, it's also a wider display, whereas the Pixel 2 XL has a more standard, so to say. Standard would still be 16 by 9. And when it comes to the resolution, the S9 Plus comes with a resolution of 2960 by 1440, which translates to 531 ppi versus 2880 by 1440 on the Pixel 2 XL, which is 538 ppi. So obviously, because the Pixel 2 XL has a smaller display, you also get a slightly higher pixel density. So if you care about VR, the Pixel 2 XL is going to be a slightly better choice. Now, when it comes to the actual panel, on the S9 Plus we have an AMOLED panel made by Samsung, whereas on the Pixel 2 XL we have a POLED panel, plastic OLED made by LG. I'm not going to go into detail on what POLED versus AMOLED the differences are, but long story short, the S9's display is actually so much better. It supports HDR10, the viewing angles are better, the entire display is brighter, and it's easier to see outdoors, and the blue shift is minimal when compared to the Pixel 2 XL's display. So display wise, the S9 Plus definitely takes this one. If you care about having the best display on a smartphone, an amazing display, definitely go with the S9 Plus. Okay, moving on to the section that you probably care about the most, and that is the camera. So the S9 Plus and the S9, they haven't been released yet. They're only coming out in mid-March, so I'll be doing an extremely in-depth Zone of Tech camera comparison once the S9 is out, so definitely subscribe and enable notifications if you want to see those as soon as they come out. Pretty similar to what I've done before, so about 20 minutes with a lot of tests, over 20 tests, panorama shots, time lapses, and so many more. So definitely subscribe if you want to see those tests as soon as they come out. But all we know is at the moment that the Pixel 2 XL camera is really good. I mean, the pictures that you take with this phone are just incredible. It's by far the best smartphone for photography right now. Now, comparing the camera specs between these two phones, there's quite a lot of differences. So on the back-facing camera, the S9 comes with a 12 megapixel sensor, f1.5 aperture, and 1/2.55 inches sensor. So that's the S9 Plus. The Pixel 2 XL comes with the same 12 megapixel sensor, f1.8 aperture, and a 1/2.6 inches sensor. So long story short, the S9 on paper at least looks to be better in low light than the Pixel 2 XL. And then also the S9 does come with a dual camera module on the back, meaning that you actually get optical zoom, so you can zoom in on your photo or video without losing any image quality. You also have that portrait mode effect, but this is actually something that you actually get on both. So you have this on the Pixel 2 XL as well. Okay, moving on to the front-facing camera, we got 8 megapixel sensors on both, but the S9 actually comes with an f1.6 aperture, So yeah, the Pixel 2 XL comes with f2.4 on the front-facing camera, which is quite a big difference from the S9. So the S9 Plus is much better in terms of low light with a front-facing camera as well as the back-facing camera. And speaking of the front-facing camera, the S9 can also do Quad HD video versus 1080p video on the Pixel 2 XL. So yeah, the front-facing camera much better on the S9. So what about a video? Well, the S9 can actually do video up to 4K 60 frames per second and 720p in 960 frames per second versus 4K 30 and 720p 240. So yeah, big difference here as well. So overall, the camera seems to be much better on the Samsung Galaxy S9 than on the Pixel 2 XL. However, do keep in mind that the main reason why the camera on the Pixel 2 XL is so good was actually because of Google's image processing. But since this is a software feature, we'll have to wait and see how well Samsung's own processing is going to work. But honestly, there's no way that Samsung's own processing is going to work as well as Google's. Just no way. So yeah, the S9, at least on paper, looks to be better than the Google Pixel 2 XL, but in reality, I believe that they're going to be pretty similar in terms of daytime shots. The S9 should be better when it comes to low light shots, as well as the front-facing camera. Okay, moving on to the performance and the software, which one of these phones is actually faster? Let's see. Well, on paper, the S9, since it's a 2018 smartphone, it comes with a Snapdragon 845 and the Exynos 9810 processor for the international version, versus the Snapdragon 835 inside the Pixel 2 XL. So, okay, what's the actual speed difference between those processors? Well, let's take a look at the Geekbench scores. And here you can see that the Exynos variant of the S9 is about 2 times faster in the single core performance than the Pixel 2 XL. And when you compare it to the Snapdragon 845, there is a bit of difference, but not as significant as with the Exynos 9810. Then the S9 Plus also comes with 6GB of RAM versus 4GB of RAM on the Pixel 2 XL. So yeah, spec-wise, on paper, the S9 Plus seems to be a much better option than the Pixel 2 XL. But in terms of the actual software, one major issue with Samsung smartphones is that they're actually full of bloatware. So TouchWiz, or Samsung Experience, that's the overlay that Samsung includes on their smartphones, and with that you get some very useful features such as the Bixby voice assistant, or what's even more useful are the duplicate apps, basically a Samsung version of almost every app that Google makes, including a Samsung Galaxy App Store, because, why not? I mean, who uses the Google Play Store? Seriously. All of us, we need to switch to the Samsung Galaxy App Store. That's where all the good apps are at. So all of these processes such as Bixby, the Edge panel, and all the background services from all the first-party apps that I've mentioned before will be eating up a lot of memory, reason why Samsung devices are known to be quite laggy. Now, a second issue with Samsung devices is when it comes to updates. So yeah, the S9 will actually launch with Android 8.0 Oreo, while the Pixel 2 XL is about to get updated to Android 8.2 fairly soon. So keep in mind, by the way, that the Samsung Galaxy S8 and the S8 Plus, they're still running on Android 7.0, which is just crazy. They will be getting an update shortly, but as of right now, it's still on 7.0. So if you're about getting an update day one, instead of, having to wait a year or maybe even more than a year, and more importantly, if you care about having stock Android with no bloatware and just a really, really fluid and responsive experience, then a Google Pixel phone is the best option. Okay, now moving on to the special features, there's actually a lot of special features. So I'm not going to mention all of them because this is already a pretty long video. So I'm only going to mention the exclusive ones for each of those phones that I haven't already mentioned before. So let's start off with the Pixel 2 XL. We get dual stereo speakers on the front. On the S9, by the way, we finally have dual speakers, but one of them is actually the earpiece and one of them is the one on the side. Then on the Google Pixel 2 XL, we also get something called Active Edge. So essentially you can squeeze the smartphone and it activates the Google Assistant. It's a pretty cool feature, but yeah, it's not one of those extremely needed features. But what's extremely needed is something that's exclusive to the Google Pixel phones, and that's unlimited photo and video storage at full resolution for the next 2 years with Google Photos. This is awesome. You don't have to worry about storage anymore when it comes to photos and videos. And then of course you get day one updates and stock Android. Now with the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, you get even more features than with the Pixel 2 XL. So you get wireless charging, you get a dual camera module on the back with optical zoom, you get the iris scanner, you get the Edge panel, you get microSD card support, and tons of extra Samsung features, and of course, Samsung bloatware. Now, when it comes to the battery, on the S9 Plus, we get a 3500 mAh battery, and on the Pixel 2 XL, we get a 3520 mAh battery, so slightly larger. But in terms of which one would actually last you longer, this is a bit of an interesting one, because the Pixel 2 XL is running on stock Android, among with a slightly larger capacitive battery. So this one should actually last you longer than the S9 Plus. But then the S9 Plus has a newer processor, essentially. It's also much more power efficient processor than last year's models. So I don't know, I'll be doing a battery drain test as soon as the S9 is released, so definitely stay tuned for that. Now moving on to the storage, we actually get 64 gigabytes as the baseline option on both of these phones, but then the S9 Plus supports a microSD card, so you can expand this even further for up to 256 of extra storage. So, you get that with the S9. But keep in mind that the external storage is going to be much slower than the internal ones. So yeah, if you need fast storage and you need fast access to apps, you won't be installing those on the external storage. And finally, the price. Which one of these phones is more expensive? Well, the Pixel 2 XL actually starts at $850 or £800 in UK, and the S9 Plus would start at close to $1,000 or around 900 or so pounds in the UK. Keep in mind that this is the S9 Plus, not the S9, which is going to be cheaper. So if you compare these phones, S9 Plus and the Pixel 2 XL, then the Pixel 2 XL is a tiny bit cheaper than the S9 Plus. Okay, so in the end, which one of these phones should you actually get? Well, honestly, I would personally say get the Pixel 2 XL. Hashtag not sponsored by Google, unfortunately. But yeah, it doesn't have, it doesn't have the epic design that the S9 Plus has. The camera is still amazing. You don't get 960 frames per second slow motion or 60 frames per second 4K video, but most people don't really care about those anyways. But you do get much more out of it with 3 years of day one updates according to Google, not even to mention unlimited cloud storage, photos and videos at the full resolution for the next 2 years. And on top of all this, if you go via the Android route, well, this is the most fluid Android device that you can get if you care about that. But let me know in the comments which one would you get and why. Is fluidity more important for you than, I don't know, having more features such as you get with the S9, for example? And yeah, if you want to see more S9 coverage, definitely subscribe to the channel and also enable notifications by tapping on that bell icon so that you don't miss a future video. And speaking of future videos, I'll be doing quite a lot of S9 coverage, but definitely check out the previous videos that I did, S9 versus S8 and Note 8, the full comparison, and S9 versus the iPhone 10 full comparison. So definitely check out those videos if you're interested in those. Other than that, this has been pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a like if you have enjoyed it to let me know. I'm Daniel. I'll see you guys in my next one. Son of Tech, signing out. Cheers.